Yeah, we're back. Dan's back this week.
Yep, here I am.
Just made it, by the way.
Not really. I was before Jules.
You're actually here before the three of us, surprisingly.
I
Somehow.
thought I was going to be late.
What's going on? What's happening?
We're in the app. Busy weekend for me. George?
Yeah, busy. Been busy doing things.
You got like you're doing the what's that that removalist company? What's it called?
It's probably Jim's
Man with a van.
removalist.
Man with a van.
Yeah,
That's Jules.
Yeah, that's
wasn't
me.
there one that had like white gloves or something? White, I don't know. Anyway, how's this? I'm gonna show you something. I showed Dan already, but look at this, Jules. I'm not showing my.
He's getting out his hernia.
Look at this. See that? See the size of that fucker?
I don't want to know how you got that.
Genuinely, it's genuinely getting worse. No, you do.
I don't think you should ever show your leg on camera like that again.
Hey, my legs are. Hey, I got
And
fucking.
if you're going to do it, you know what you remind me of currently?
Yeah, let him
when
have
you
it.
have like a job interview like online and you just like dress from
Top
like top half up, like hip up. That's Joe currently.
Do you want me to show the listeners my hernia? Here, I'll show you my hernia.
Go on, can you see it? Does it stick out?
It's upper groin.
Okay, we're not going there. Anyway, what happened was, Jules, I already told Dan, I played golf in Lagos a few days ago, right? I hit this ball off the tee, and it's landed behind like the 150-meter marker. So it's 150 meters to the tee. There's like markers on the side of the fairway to tell you how far in.
I have a question for you.
Landed maybe like 2-3 meters behind that marker. So I stepped up to hit the second ball. Smoked it, but it's hit the marker dead on. Ricocheted straight back to me and hit me right there. I felt like I got shot.
Where was Gab at this point?
She wasn't there. She was doing her own thing.
I don't understand, man. You go to Europe to visit your partner and you go play golf when you can do that here.
There's
It's questionable. I think that's fair. I think Gab can hear me as well.
She's just stopped in the shower.
She'll listen back.
To be fair, maybe on holidays sometimes you need a bit of space as well.
That's you took
when you've had like 3-4 months.
Yeah, true. Joe hasn't seen her in like 3 months.
And after 3 days, I was already ready to go play golf. That's our moment. We finally, as a generation, we can hang our hat on a genuine moment.
Honestly, we are a force because of the intensity that we play at is just next level.
We want to be here. We want to impact finals. And it's one thing of obviously saying it, but we just lived it.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 128 of the Almost Blues Brothers podcast, part of the Blue Abroad Media Network and proudly powered in 2024 by Image Online. We're not in the Image Online studios again. Obviously, we're on StreamYard this week. I'm still overseas enjoying my life. Not in Melbourne. That's only going to last another week. But yes, Image Online 2024. Jingles. We say it every week. Jingles, podcast studio, whatever you need. Live calling. If you need any of that for your business, get in touch with Image Online. We'll be back in that studio, not next week, but the week after, because next week I will still be here in Europe. Boys, before we get on, Dan, I'll start with you. Actually, I'll start with Jules because Dan's going to ramble a bit. Jules.
Oh, fuck off.
How was your weekend?
To be honest with you, I was basically a removalist for Friday, pretty much. Saturday, and then went to the footy. That was my weekend, pretty much.
Long-time listeners and viewers of the show would remember Reese, Jules's future brother-in-law, no doubt, future brother-in-law, and his lovely sister Steph just moved into their new house. So congratulations to the two of them. And yeah, Jules was man with a van, apparently.
Jules,
do
you thrive in that type of work, Jules?
Actually, Reese has actually messaged me yesterday afternoon and I go, this is my element. I go, anything you want, let me know, because I'm the person.
Give me a task and I'll do it.
I
Yeah,
should love
Jules?
it. Huh?
Give me a task and I'll do it. Yeah.
It's like, give me anything you want, I'll do it.
That's what shifting crates at Coles for the last 12 years does to us.
Nah, it's actually fun.
Yeah, no, I don't mind. I don't mind the whole removalist thing. It's good as long as you have to do it every other fucking month. Dan, actually, before we get to you, I've seen Pommy in the chat here. Pommy, shout out to Pom. He had a little accident over the weekend. Apparently, I've just had a quick chat to him. I hope you're well. I know you've had a few people reach out, but sounds like you got away with something that could have been a lot worse, mate. So hope you're recovering well. Dan,
More elements than kindness.
Good that he's in the chat, to be fair. I probably wouldn't be.
Feel like I've had 10 rounds of Usyk and lost on points. That's good. Dan, you took a leaf out of my book over the weekend. Is that right?
Well, not just you. A lot of people in the world. No, I had a wedding on the weekend. A cousin of ours. I was MC for their wedding. And let's just say that the feedback was that I should start it up as a second business. Not toot my own horn, but they loved it. Shout out to Paddy and Danielle. Danielle is a massive Carlton fan. The song, so the crowd, the family was divided Carlton Collingwood. I went up to the DJ. I go, listen, play the Carlton theme song. Because I knew Paddy's mum hates Carlton.
Yep.
You should have seen her stare at me from the other side of the room when that song come on, especially because we won. But no, it was a good experience. I don't know whether I'd do it again. Like if I had to, I would. And if you paid me enough, I would. But I think it was easier because I knew everyone there. So you could throw a couple zingers in there and stuff, but it was good fun.
It is. I think it is easier if you know the people. I've been asked. Yeah. I've been told I should do it as well, but I don't know.
Like to provide some context, Lauren was in the bridal party and Lauren was dancing her way down when I announced her as one of the bridesmaids, and I threw a little zinger saying that my kid might pop out while she's jumping around, and little things like that. I can't be saying that if I don't know the people, eh?
No, you can't. Not
if it's.
Imagine it's a random, Jules.
Give us an update.
I'm just trying to think. My kid could pop out. Like
or their kid. Or their kid.
Yeah.
I would say their kid.
You can still say my kid, and then it gets people thinking.
And it starts
How is Lauren? Just quickly before we get into this, how is Lauren? How's it tracking? You're not far off now, mate.
The future blue bagger is 5 or so weeks away.
Yeah. It's going to creep up on us very, very quickly.
It's saying it's going to be a medium forward by the looks of it.
Okay. All right. Medium forward or key? I reckon key forward the size of this thing.
Hey, apparently his legs are long.
Michael Harley in the chat here. He's had a terrible week. This should cheer him up. Well, I hope we can, Michael, and I hope we can cheer up everyone else that might have had a bit of a tough week. But boys, without any further ado,
let's get into it.
Yep, back on the winners list. Thank fuck, because if we had lost that one, I don't know how I would have done this podcast, if I'm being honest. It looked a bit sketchy early on, I'm not going to lie. We looked like it was going to be wasted opportunities early on, but thankfully, late in the game, we put the foot down and put the foot on the throat, put them away. Final score from Marvel, 15-12, 102. Carlton defeated the Gold Coast by 29 points, 11-7. 73 goal kickers for the Blues: Akers, Cripps, Hewitt, Elijah Hollins, Matt Kennedy, Aaron Mackay, Matt Owies with 1 each. Charlie Curnow ended up with 4 in the second half, and Zachy Boy Williams might be the greatest small forward in the comp now with 4. after that one too. And
If he keeps doing that, he'll win the Coleman.
There is a lot to talk about in this game. It was just fun to watch in the end. There was no injuries, thank fuck. 40,000 at Marvel, not a bad turnout for a Suns game. So I'll ask you, Jules. Firstly, you went to the game. You were the only one of the three of us that actually went to the game. How was the atmosphere?
The atmosphere was actually not too bad considering it was against Gold Coast. Probably mainly because of the umpiring. I know there was obviously questions being raised post game in terms of like Fossey, even Hardwick as well. I think even McRae actually mentioned it in his post press conference actually the night before as well. So a lot of dubious decisions and so on. But it was actually pretty lively for a Gold Coast game, considering.
It took until there was a minute 45 left on the clock in the third quarter for us to receive our third free kick of the game.
And you could hear the roar in the crowd.
Yeah. It was like, and that was a thing. Like, there was just a lot of that going on, and obviously it was still a bit of an arm wrestle. So the crowd were in the thick of things. But this isn't my calcs, but just a stat. There was 131 completed tackles on the night, only 4 holding the balls.
This is Gav just took the words out of my mouth. Standard umpiring is as bad as I can remember. It is atrocious.
The inconsistency of it's a joke.
It's atrocious.
It's actually becoming a joke.
Across the league, it is so fucking bad. It's not, and it's been bad for a long time, but this is as bad as it's ever been. I don't understand the holding the ball rule anymore. I just don't. Like, you can get tackled and just and be tackled after a couple of steps and just drop it, and that's apparently a correct disposal now. It's not incorrect disposal. I just don't get it.
There was a few on the weekend where it was, they've literally gone to kick the ball after having prior, gone to kick the ball, completely missed it, and it wasn't, holding the ball. And obviously it is in terms of obviously the rules of the game. I think a lot of question marks.
They need to review the whole thing.
I like it. It's very hard for an umpire. Yeah, it's not easy.
But they make it hard for themselves.
Yes and no. I think it's more down to the AFL in terms of the way it's actually the rulings of the game, where it's down to what's the term that they use, Joe? Down to interpretation.
Discretion.
Yeah. So when that's the case, there's a lot of grey areas, and I don't think it's great for a viewer. There's a lot of issues with the game, even in terms of the man of the mark rule. I don't really like it. I don't think it helps at all. I think it's ridiculous. There was actually one for us that we actually got a 50-meter penalty against, where the player who marked it, his direct person, his direct player, fled the area, and then one of our players actually came to go on the mark, and he was in the right to do so, and he's called a 50-meter penalty. I don't think, and he was only 2-3 meters away. Once he's marked, so surely he's able to man the mark.
That sort of thing doesn't impact the game where it should be considered a penalty to that degree. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So I think there's got to be questions there, and obviously mid-season is probably pretty hard to draw it back a little bit. But definitely post-season they've got to get to work on that for sure.
And we're not talking about this from a Carlton perspective. We watch a lot of footy between the three of us. A lot. I'm sure everyone that watches us or listens to us each week watches just as much footy. The standard of umpiring across the league is the worst it has ever been. And they've introduced this fourth umpire. My dad's got a theory. As soon as you introduce another one, it means that you might be introducing someone that has absolutely no idea. The quality of umpiring just isn't there versus the quantity. He's probably right at this point because they've introduced this fourth umpire and it's just gotten worse and worse every year. So it shouldn't be exactly right. Dave in the chat. Footy conversation at the moment, about 40% of it is about umpires lately. That's not how it should be. It just shouldn't be. We should not have to talk about this much every single week, about every single game. There are decisions, the Collingwood Fremantle game, as much as I loved it, shocking decision, like because he didn't give the ball back. It's a free kick directly in front of goal, 20 meters out. That is just that's deplorable.
Yeah.
But if you saw that,
trying to think of
if you saw that decision being given all the time consistently, you'd turn around and go, all right, fair. We've seen it week to week. We've seen it game to game. But it's the inconsistency of it that's just starting to become like you can't watch it. You actually can't
pay that.
Yeah.
You cannot pay that at that point of the game, just like you couldn't pay Isaac Rankin's running too far last week at that point in the game. You just can't. It doesn't get paid every other week. It just doesn't.
I'm just trying to think if there's any other sport where the umpiring, or not so much the umpiring, but it's more just the way it's been interpreted, the rules are being interpreted, whether they get so much heat. And I don't think there is.
There's not.
Like, we're big sport advocates, like in terms of like we watch basketball, we watch NFL, we watch, obviously the round ball, football, AFL, and many other sports. And the umpires or referees don't get this much attention.
It's because there isn't as many rules for the one incident, for example, or for the one scenario with decisions. You look at soccer, for example. You know what I mean? A red card's pretty much oblivious. It's pretty much like a red card's a red card. You know what you're you know what you're getting to get that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's because the rules are obvious.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So for example, if they just say if you drop the ball and if you don't handball the ball, you don't kick the ball, it's holding the ball. Simple.
It should be.
Yeah,
but it's right. Not, and it's never paid. It's never paid these days. You said there was 4 holding the ball free kicks in our game, 131 tackles laid between the two sides. There is no chance. There is no chance that there weren't more holding the ball calls that should be paid. Anyway, enough about the umpires. Dan, you watched the replay. Obviously, you were at the wedding. You watched the replay this morning. You said, "How did you?"
Yeah, I'd watch bits and pieces live because I was too eager to not to check what was going on. But I watched the actual full game. This morning. To be honest, I know obviously we knew that the game was in the balance at some capacity, but I thought we were still in control the whole game. Personally, I didn't feel I felt as though the way we started, we're always gonna. We just showed up. You could see from first quarter the way we hit the first quarter, we showed up. And personally, for me, I think that again started at the clearance. And start at the stoppage. I think we were just so dominant there. Against the midfield, like watching it from on TV, the commentators were talking about Rao. When's Rao going to make an impact? When's Rao going to, start winning the contested ball for them and get them going? But we didn't allow it to happen. We were just so dominant at the source, which gave us first use. And then I think that also, for me, stopped or slowed their ability to score as well.
Well, that was clear. Anderson and Miller had 21 each, and we'll talk about Took Miller as well because Alex Chincotta claimed another victim on the weekend in a very different part of the ground, but same sort of role. But Anderson and Miller 21 each, and Raul had 15. Raul had as many tackles as what he had disposals, and usually those three, especially with Wits in, dominate possession, and they couldn't even get close. We had the top 6 possession getters on the ground, and we had 8 of the top 10 against the midfield that has been praised by the football community for being one of the better midfields in terms of getting first use.
Yeah.
Do you not believe it though? Do you boys agree? Do you boys agree that the way we started, you could see there was a different that's our brand, that's our identity. The way we moved the ball was quick out of the clearance.
We hear about pressure and contest. We hear about pressure and contest every week. And from the get-go, I saw that profile again. Instant. It was our midfielders in particular that had the heat brought on them after last week. We discussed it, Jules, with Paul, how poor they were last week in Sydney. And from the get-go, they looked like they wanted to hunt again, which was good to see.
Yeah, I just think it started from the centre. I think that was quite obvious. What did we win the clearances by? 44-32. So obviously a big discrepancy there.
Even our disposal. Sorry to cut you off, Jules, but we doubled.
Yeah, it wasn't the disposals, but we had 114 plus uncontested possession. So It was
We're working
more so the
harder.
outside game. We're able to work harder, but we won the ball, which was great. And yeah, what did we win by? We won the clearances by 12, which is obviously a good feat. But it was more so what we did outside the contest that was actually much more pleasing for me. You know, we scored. Obviously, I think it was plus 10 points from clearances. If I'm not wrong, Joe.
Well, are you going into
From
your calc?
memory.
I'm assuming you're going to go.
Yeah,
into
let's
your
do
calc.
that. Yeah.
Is that part of the? Is
Getting
that
it
part
up?
of the calc? Is that part of the calc? Doing the
You getting it up, Joe, or what?
doing the keyboard. What are you doing?
Oh, I'm Jules. What's the calc? I've got like 5 different things here.
The turnovers, the scores.
Okay.
Told you pre-show, man.
How about you
Play a
start
role.
and then so you start talking, talk about what you want to talk about, and then I'll bring up
I
the
don't
graphics.
understand. You're trying to tell me how to run my segment. Just put the calcs up. All right. It's obviously easier if everyone can see. So obviously from stoppage, we're plus 10. I was good before in terms of saying that. But like I said, we did well from stoppage, but it was more so what we did off turnover, we're plus 25, but more importantly, from the defensive half. Obviously through the likes of having Sard back in, even Sincotta around the contest in terms of the way we move the ball. Leg speed is key. You saw what City did with us in terms of carving us up, and I have no doubt that even the likes of I know this is probably going to be a topic of conversation. I know in a lot of forums and a lot of chats or the past 24 hours, but just having the solo ruckman in TDK with what he was able to do in terms of the hit outs, etc. But most importantly, around the grounds, he had 25 touches where Witts only had like 14 or 15. And his ability to motor, he had 8 score involvements, 10 clearances, mind you, 27 hitouts, 15 contested possessions. It enabled Harry to get up the ground a lot more. And I just think we were able to, I don't think it worked more often than not, but we're able to lower the eyes. And mind you, off the back of that, we went at 60% inside forward 50. So it's going to be a topic of conversation. You know where my thoughts are, boys. I think a mobile ruck is key in terms of being able to move the ball and having that extra runner, and that's my thoughts. I just think on the day we're able to win the contest, which is great. But even if we're able to halve the contest, it's what we do in our uncontested possession chains. They're actually able to win. Helps us to win games of footy and ultimately going to win us a premiership. Because that's the game, boys. That's the modern game.
I think it was Tom's best game for the club, no doubt. He dominated. He dominated, and it was good to see. Something that we've been a little bit critical of him.
Massive.
But something we've been a little bit critical of him in terms of his ruck craft and being able to take that number 1 ruck spot. 25 disposals, 3 tackles, 10 clearances, 4 out of the centre. It's huge. You can't knock it. 15 contested possessions as well in that. It was clear to see. He had his best game for the club. I tend to agree that I think getting Harry outside of forward 50 and further up the ground freed up Charlie in the second half. Didn't seem to work in the first half. I'm not quite sure why it took so long, but we did see that come on in the second half, and Charlie was freed up a little bit with a bit more space inside 50. I don't know. I'm still not sure where I sit on it. I'm not quite sure. I get it. The profile looked better. The opposition wasn't world class, to be fair. But Tom did his job on the day, and it looked good. It looked really good.
You can't question it based off what we saw against Gold Coast. Listen, I think if I saw 3-4 games in a row of that, I'd turn around and go, you know what, works.
Yeah.
But to be honest, it's a freakish game like that he played. It was freakish.
Well,
So
if Tom,
listen, if he strings that together and we play the way we play for 3-4 weeks in a row, I'm turning around and I'm
But
going.
this
Because
is
it's flavor of the month, bloke. You know, 2 weeks ago we're saying, oh my god, how good's the two ruckmans? Pito's dominating. This is us. This is what we're doing. Now, is the inclusion of Sard and Fogg a bigger addition to what we're able to do than
this is what
having one ruck?
I've had conversation with a lot of people. I don't see it as Pito or TDK being better. I actually don't. I don't view it like that.
it's
I
just the
view it
one
as a
ruck.
huge team. I reckon Pito's a better ruck. I actually do.
You're saying it's just the one ruck.
I'm just saying TDK just being one ruck, his mobility, having him in there allows us to have that extra runner in the team, and that enables us to have that profile where we can actually score from defensive half and we can score off turnover because we have the pace around the ground to be able to do so.
It's evident. That's evident.
It's 100%. It's 100%. But you've also got to take. It can't just be the one factor. You've also got to take into account that we've got key players coming back now. Our back six has not looked as assured as what it did against Gold Coast.
No, that is 100% true.
Our back six looked that solid with whoever was rolling through there as well. Like Cowan and Kemp look unbelievable, but they have not looked like that, and we have not moved the ball from D50 the way we have all season. And I'm a big believer. You put key people like Fogg and Sard into a side that you now have.
No doubt.
And it's better. It's naturally better.
I think if Pito plays yesterday, we probably still win the game. Yeah. I just don't think overall our performance would be as good. Do you know what I think around the ball, in terms of the likes of Cripps, Hewitt, Walsh, Kennedy, Elijah, whoever rolls through there, you have the contested beast to get to work, and you don't need a Pito. That's what I think. That's what I think. And I just think on the outside and enabling that. Elijah actually went through the midfield a lot more, especially the 16 clearances.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And that actually helps. Sorry
to cut you off, Jules. Sorry to cut you off, but that you're actually right in that sense, because the week prior he only went into the centre bounce about 4 times. He actually went in about 16.
So, plus. And what I'm saying is, and not having a Pito in there, or even if it's the other way around, even if it's TDK is not playing and Pito's in there, because you have that extra runner, it enables you to roll another player into the center square. You have that extra runner into the game. That's just my train of thoughts about where I'm talking.
Yeah. My thing's this. Yeah, clearly against Gold Coast, we dominated the clearance without Pito. All right, but I feel like Pito is pivotal to us being even more dominant through there. Now, I 100% agree with you, Jules, that transition is where we score our goals, and it's massive. But if we're not dominating the clearance, like transition builds off that, essentially. You're not conceding as many goals if you're getting first use. Do you know what I mean? Constantly.
Yeah.
Not necessarily.
You can't just not win the clearance and keep going, like conceding entries inside 50 though. You can't.
Can I just quickly on that point? We conceded 55 points up until when they kicked the last 3 goals of the game. 55. Now, in recent weeks, where our clearance game hasn't been that great, and I put it down to the midfield, as we did last week when we discussed this, Jules, it was purely down to midfield because they didn't want to get to work. When they're not firing, we concede heavily, really, really heavily. They fired on all cylinders yesterday. There's a couple of things I want to touch on here. So the midfield got to work. We didn't concede. It was as defensively sound a performance as we've seen from this group probably this year for the majority of the game. Like we talk about 4-quarter efforts all week. That was a 4-quarter performance. And for me, it purely came down to the midfield. Now, in transition, we scored heavily, and that's what you've been saying all year, Jules, and I get it. That's where the modern game is. I understand, but defensively, for me, I still have the opinion that if you're getting first use, the opposition can't get the football, and that's what we saw for the majority of the game. Now, there's that point. You also touched on Elijah, the likes of Elijah, even if Fantasia going into stoppage in yesterday's game. Now, we can look at Pito being out of the side, which allows those types of players to go in. You know who else isn't in the side? Adam Chera's not in the side. who doesn't have the leg speed of a Chincotta, for instance, who was able to get up to the contest and expose, Took Miller and whatnot through his work, where Fantasia wasn't able to roll up to a stoppage when Chera was in the side because he's there, where Elijah Hollins isn't able to attend as many centre bounces because Chera's in there. So there's a lot, for me, there are a lot of factors to consider from one game where it could be Tom and he had a blinder, absolute blinder, which we can't rely on every week because he's just not going to do that every week, realistically. If he does, he'll win the Brownlow from here, no problem. But there are so many other factors to consider. Fogarty rolling up to the stoppage, where Durden had zero impact in the last 4 weeks. There's a lot of other factors to consider outside of, was it Pito's exclusion that allowed us to play the way that we played? I think off one game, it's very easy to jump at shadows. I think it's in 3 or 4 weeks' time.
Yeah,
if we continue,
you
hold on, Jules. If we continue to roll with this structure and we continue to put in performances like that, at that point in 3 or 4 weeks, I'll go, fuck it. That's it. That has to be it now.
Go, Jules. Say what you want to say first, and then I'll take, because mine's a different point entirely. I was going to move on, but if you want to go.
Yeah. Look, I'm not saying that it's just obviously my opinion, yeah? But, and you can say, for example, look, we played in the first 4 rounds. Sorry?
It's an opinion-based podcast.
Exactly right. And you can say whoever we played in the first 4 rounds, but at the end of the day, in the first 4 rounds, we're scoring mostly from turnover or defensive half because we're able to move the ball. And performance-wise, arguably, and you can say whatever you want in terms of who we played, obviously in the middle patch of the season so far in terms of our 11 games, but performance-wise, I reckon the first 4 and this game here, in terms of the way we're moving the ball, has probably been our best.
Up to round 5, we were the number 1 team of tackling pressure. Up to round 5.
Yeah, and that helps with
after that,
being able to move.
We're nowhere. After that,
yeah, that helps when you're able to move. When you have play, and this is another thing too. Like in terms of you, Joe, in terms of you're saying Chera. Do we have Hewitt, Walsh, Chera, Kennedy, Cripps all in at the same time?
I have said for so long we can't play all 5 of them at the same time. We can't.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And imagine you play all 5 of those plus a Pito who struggles to get around the ground. How are you going to play that turnover game and score from defensive half? It makes it look very difficult.
To be fair to Pito, he hasn't struggled to get around the ground this year. He's our 3rd highest rated player. Like, he's having impact outside of the contest too. I agree. I agree on the point.
I think he has impact in the contest. Outside the contest, very little. He's the thing that helps him is he's actually scored a little bit from his contest work inside forward 50, and that's the numbers in terms of actually helps him. But hit outs actually helps his numbers massively.
He's taking
marks a player like TDK.
He's taking hold on. He's taking marks around the ground too. But that's not the point I was making. The point I was trying to make was I agree that I don't think we can play all 5 of those midfielders, those A graders, if you want to call them, that we've got, and the 2 rucks. I think we could play the 2 rucks in yesterday's setup without a Chera there, for instance, or without a Hewitt or whoever might have missed. I think you can play 4 with the 2, but to have 2 rucks and 5 big-bodied, slower sort of mids, that gets exposed. It does get exposed too often. So again, that's another factor to consider is the exclusion of a Chera that allowed us to bring more leg speed into the middle. Is that something that potentially is what the coaching department will look at going forward? I've cried out for it for 2 years now on this podcast that I just don't think those 5. I don't think we're as effective with those 5 midfielders playing at the same time. I just don't. And I don't know what the solution is there, to be honest, because they're all on big money, big coin, and they're all important to the team. So anyway, I think as part of this conversation, to finish it, unless you've got something further to say, Dan, there are so many factors we've just discussed there to just off one game alone as well, to just be able to sit here and go, it's this is how we have to roll throughout the season. And that's what's going to work every single week. Do it against Port Adelaide, who are dominating teams out of stoppage this year. Go with 1 ruck. I want to see it. I want to see 1 ruck. I want to see the same setup against Port Adelaide next week and see how we go, because that will tell that. I think that'll be a massive barometer for where that sort of structure stacks up against the best? Dan?
With
I
the
just don't
key,
think it should be based off stoppage.
Dan?
no, but anyway, we'll move on. So my thing that I wanted to bring up with you two was I was watching the game and I'm thinking to myself, we'll dominant. Yeah, I felt first 2 quarters, but the score wasn't reflecting it. Scoreboard pressure obviously clear, that we couldn't apply that. Do you boys think that when we do turn the ball over in key areas, for example, when we are entering attacking 50, that we're losing it, or we're giving it away in areas that cost us, or we're not entering in a way that we can be more dominant? Because you'd think that with our dominance, say through the middle and the way we're moving the ball, that we should have been 5-6 goals up.
Some of the kicking inside 50 to Mac Andrew.
It was dog shit.
I'll put Sam Walsh in the spotlight because I'm one of his biggest fans. We all are, but fuck me, mate. Hitting him on the tit once, okay, it's a mistake. Hitting him on the tit literally 3 times in the same quarter is like, are you using your brain enough? And I don't think at times we do. I agree. I think we all agree with that. We discuss this every other week as well. Jules been a big proponent of not.
It's just
entering
where
the
we're
field.
losing the footy and how we're losing it is just, and I think that's what's hurting us more than anything. I think that's the difference between where we can go to another level is actually now punishing sides with the way we're entering forward 50.
The decision making going inside 50 is a head scratcher because when we need to go long and deep, we usually lower the eyes and go short, like what Walsh did with Mac Andrew 3 times. When we need to lower the eyes and go short, when we've got options leading out of the square, we go long. Like, I don't understand why the decision making in that area of the ground still isn't adding up.
Well, where it stood out to me was I remember there was a moment, I think it was Fantasia, and he had Charlie about 15 meters short, and he actually went long, and went straight down to McAndrew's throat. And I was like, if we just lowered the eyes a little bit more, Charlie's got a shot from 35 out, you know? So I think that's, if I looked at the game as its entirety, that's the area where I felt we could have kicked away if we just cleaned up that area there.
Yeah, at the game, that's what it felt as well, particularly in the first half. Yeah, I just think there's some players that aren't playing, and we talk about personnel. Obviously, not available currently, but there are players that would help that situation. It's just that unfortunately they're not on the park. Obviously, we're not going to go into that conversation again, but you've got Chera. Obviously, his ball use is usually elite. He's Martin in terms of his ability to hit up targets. Even a JSOS, for example, his ability to, pinpoint targets inside forward 50. They're probably the 2-3 players that actually help us in that situation.
But is it the communication
that, come out of the contest or are linking players from mid to mid forward or even the forward 50, and we just don't have those players currently. Walsh is actually usually better than what he did on the weekend.
He was poor. He was poor. He got a lot of the footy. He got a lot of the footy, and the pressure around the contest that he applied was good. But with ball in hand, he was particularly poor by his standards going inside 50. Dan?
No, I was going to say, I feel as though it's got to be a lack of communication or understanding from your mids to your forwards as well. In understanding is, are you hitting Charlie up on a lead? Are you looking for that? Like, I feel like there's a little bit of, lack of cohesion. Jules,
yeah.
that's your word. Lack of cohesion
from the other week.
Lack of chemistry. I think so too. And obviously with, Walsh has played, many games now. Obviously Mackay, Charlie has put, 2 and a bit seasons together as well. But we haven't really had much cohesion on our list in terms of
not this year.
Bulk, well, not just this year, for quite a few years. So once you sort of lack that chemistry in terms of on-field players playing consistently, in terms of where they're going to position the body, where they want the ball kicked, where the space is, where they're going to lead into, and obviously the communication, it all helps. I think just games, is going to, because you can train that all you want, but to be able to produce that on game day, is a different story. You're under a different type of pressure than what you are in a training or match sim.
Well, speaking about personnel, obviously the importance of role players any given week and on any given day is something that we've stressed on this podcast for a long time. And it's taken a long time for certain role players and players that come into the team sporadically to actually step up and have impact. And right now, I feel like we're getting that impact from those role players a lot more than what we have in the past. And the first one I'll start with, again, I think this is the 4th straight week, is Alex Chincotta. He's been phenomenal since he's come in. The role that he has played and been given by Voss every single week as a lockdown player. So we've seen him do it against small forwards now. Bobby Hill, Cozzy Pickett, Tom Papley. Papley sort of got off the chain a little bit, but against those three. But he's given a completely different role on the weekend. Same sort of lockdown role, but through the middle on Took Miller, and completely nullified him. Completely. Ran with him all day, and Took Miller had zero impact on that contest. So Alex Chincotta, that type of player, that's what we need to step up, boys.
He plays with this heart.
Yeah, a lot of heart.
Just plays with heart, boys. That's what it is.
He's not going to get us.
He's
not going to rack up 20 disposals in a game, 25 disposals. Well, he only had 7, I think. 7. But his ability to nullify really important players for the opposition is something I haven't seen from a Carlton player for a long, long time. Ed Curnow type.
Yeah. I think Cincotta actually has the ability to be a ball-using halfback flanker, to be honest. I just don't think he has a position in that type or in that mold, because we do have, we've got probably an abundance there, to be honest. Even Williams now is sort of being pushed out, sort of, in terms of obviously his role up forward. So, but his ability to be that shutdown player, no matter, where it is on the ground, I mean, you can say, like, he just wants to play. He'll do anything to play. He'll do anything to play, and he really just wants to go to war. He probably goes to a Rose, to be honest with you, when he plays forward and even through the middle. He probably follows him everywhere.
Yeah, if Rosie plays, yes. Otherwise, Butters, we're probably running with Butters. We'll get to that in the preview in a minute. Chincotta was one. The second one, quite obvious, that needs to be spoken about. It's the title of the video. Last week, I actually thought last week in Sydney, Zach Williams looked okay up forward. I actually thought he looked a little bit lively. There was some criticism around it. I didn't think it was that bad, to be honest. This week, there's no question. There's zero question. Now, correct me if I'm wrong in the live chat here. I might be remembering this incorrectly, but I've got a memory of Eddie Betts when he came back to Carlton speaking about Zach Williams as potentially being a small forward that we could as a player that we could use as a small forward for the future. I don't know if I'm remembering that incorrectly or if he said it about another player. I know it was definitely said it. I'm sure it was about Zach Williams, but that was like just so good to watch. It was making, like, it's not often where you just get like real happy for a player, right? And you could see how much he was enjoying his football. Zach Williams in attack on the weekend was fucking phenomenal. And I hope we persist with it, and I hope it continues to work, because he could be someone that is as dynamic up forward as we've got. But it was good to see. It was good to see.
I think it actually helps having an older head down there as well. Obviously, Charlie hasn't really played much other than like the last, 2 years and a bit. Obviously, early days he did, obviously before his injuries. But I think having that older head there helps, just in terms of the structure up forward. And you could see Zach, obviously was able to score 4 goals, but his communication as a leader down there was obviously able to help over the course of the game.
You kick 4, you're not complaining, are you? My only concern was he didn't lay a tackle.
Yeah.
That's probably my only criticism.
Mhm.
about that. But you kick 4, no issue. Don't tackle.
Wait,
Don't
if
worry
kicks 4,
about it.
don't go
You do
lane,
whatever
don't
you
have lane
want.
tackles.
That's what I
Yeah.
mean. Don't worry
I
about
mean,
it. But
the
that's
other
probably
thing
my
is-
only concern.
The other thing is he had a direct goal assist and 9 score involvements. Now, and I'm with you, Dan. We've criticised like a Corey Durden over the last few weeks for not being able to lay a tackle, but Corey Durden hasn't kicked 4 goals in a game, and Zach Williams has done that. He's kicked 5 in 2 weeks now. So I don't know. It's a headache. It's now a headache because if he does it again, if he kicks a couple next week again, with Motlop looking to come back in, and with Jack Martin probably not too far off in the next sort of just after the bye, becomes a headache all of a sudden. How do you fit all these guys in? So it's a good headache to have, but could be one that match committee are going to be scratching their head with.
Well, you go with the guy that's going to kick your goals, don't you?
Huh?
You go with the guy that's going to kick your goals.
Well, here's another guy that's going to kick your goals, and I think we're very, very harsh on. He's not a role player; he's a fucking superstar. But
Before you go into him, Lockie Cowan.
Oh, yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, Lockie Cowan, obviously, he was able to come in because Williams obviously went forward. So, and I know Vossa spoke about him in his post-game presser as well in terms of his ability, but his ability to win one-on-ones on the weekend and obviously win the ball and not just, punch it over the boundary line. He was actually able to take a mark or gather the ball and then hit up a target was exceptional. And another one was Kemp as well. He actually looked hampered. I don't know if you saw it on TV, but he did have quite a heavy bandage around his hammy or his quad. And just his ability to be able to, intercept mark, hit up targets, and I don't know, it's just his ability to be able to get the ball moving forward, hit up targets, and he actually doesn't mind trying to take a kick through the corridor. He's great to see.
Yeah, just the honest. I like honest players that you know what you're going to get, and with him, that's what you're going to get. He takes the game on. He's not afraid to get stuck in. So, well, like I said, the Zach moving forward and adding Lockie in there. Like I said, and I said earlier in the show, but that back 6 looked more assured than it has all season. So,
well, it's a timely question from Aiden. Do you guys think that back 6 is how it should be for the rest of the season?
at the moment, yeah. I think you got Dove, Weed. They all complement each other really well. And to go off your comment, Jules, I've not seen us use the ball out of D50 like that all season.
Yeah.
All season.
Yeah. There's only one player that could potentially come back into that team. And I don't know if even it's potentially because his body's, he struggles to get going. But that's Marchbank, really.
Nah.
He's
So
probably.
So for me, he's dropped down the pecking order now. I think we have to unless there's an injury to a McGovern or Kemp. I think you've got to persist with Kemp because he's only going to get better. Like he looks next to Wiedering, he looks really, really good. He looks really assured. He can come off his man, knowing that Wieders will cover for him. Like you can see that there's some confidence there with Kemp when he plays next to Wieders, and with McGovern also there as the third sort of tall, if you want to call it that. I just think those three are the three that we've got to persist with. We can't. You look at some of the best defensive units in recent years, like a Richmond or a Geelong. They don't change their key three. Like for Geelong, it's like a Jack Henry, a Tom Stewart, and a College Asney. They've always been there. Like that's their key three, or a Sam DeConning, for instance. Richmond for all those years, it was Vlosten, it was what's his name, Broad, it was Grimes, and then obviously Rance before Rance went down with that ACL. We need to find a key 3 or 4, if you want to call it 4. I still think 3 is enough for the way that we play, that you just stick with. And I think Marchbank, unfortunately, due to his body and due to those sort of circumstances, he's too far down the pecking order for me now. Dan.
No, you said it all. I agree.
All right. Yeah, let's go to the votes. Unless we've got any more to say about the actual game. No. All right, I don't have vote graphics this week because Dan got his votes to me too late. So we're going to have to remember off the top of our heads here. I had, I believe I had I had Charlie. So I had Charlie for 1, Williams for 2, and I had Cripps for 3. I'll talk about Charlie just quickly. We've already spoken about Williams. So superstar, absolute superstar. He had 8 scoring shots in the end, and he was absolutely nowhere for a half of football. There was a point he was dragged in the second quarter, and the camera shot to the bench as he sat down, and he looked completely despondent. Just didn't know. I looked at him. I go, you don't know where your head's at, and finishes with 4 goals for. We are very, very harsh on Charlie. We laid a tackle. It's 1 in the tackle column this week. I think we're very harsh on this bloke. His ability to find his way into a game, regardless of what sort of pressure he's under, it's second to none. He still is, for me, the best player in the comp on his day. Who's next?
Yep, agree. I had him for 3 as well. I then had Cripper for 2, and I just keep looking at this bloke, and I keep looking at his odds on Sportsbet go down for the Brownlow. Because for me, his performance is sensational again. What do you have, like a goal? He took his goal like a small forward, the way he took that. Goal, 31 touches. I think he had how many clearances? 13 clearances, 16 contested possessions. I thought he was dominant in an area that we needed to be. So I gave him the 2, and I gave Zachy Williams the 1 with the 4 goals.
Jules.
I gave Charlie 1. Just his ability to get back into the game and obviously produce was excellent. It's actually crazy. I'm pretty sure he's leading the Coleman. Is that correct? Am I correct in saying that?
I think he's equal leader, yeah.
Yeah, or equal leader. And we will go into the second half of the year playing some fairly mediocre sides.
He's actually outright.
Yeah,
He's outright leader.
Yeah, so it's actually crazy, especially the last 5-6 weeks, the run that we have had. He hasn't actually kicked a bag of 5 yet, which is interesting. But he's obviously been very consistent in terms of kicking 3s and 4s. He's going to be kicking a few bags, I reckon, in the next couple of months. I had TDK the 2. I just think he was so influential on the game, and just that very selfless role as well across the ground. He ran wits wild, to be honest with you. And obviously we've spoken about him a fair bit, obviously, not too long ago. But I gave 3 votes to Cripps. So I just think he was best on, and it wasn't even close.
I agree with you. What Cripps is doing this year is scary because he kind of flies under the radar a bit, and then you look at his game at the end and you reflect on it and go, fuck me, that was special.
They put like 3 or 4, not at the same time, but obviously rotated 3 or 4 players on him, and they couldn't do anything to stop him. Nothing.
Yeah. All right. I don't know the votes leaderboard. I'll have to do that during the week. But before we get into the preview, here is Libby.
Hey everybody, it's Libby with Libby's Last Words, and this is what I thought about the game. Well, it's good. Good to actually have a win and not having a close game. We won by 29 points against Gold Coast Suns, which was literally absolutely amazing. I reckon we played very good in the last half, but in the first and second quarter, I felt like we had a lot of opportunities, and in the first quarter, we did fumble a bit, but we definitely came in very strong. But I'm so happy with the boys today. We got so many marks in our inside 50, which was so good. I felt like running our work through the corridor was so good. I was so happy to watch that. It was just amazing. It was good to see the boys play some good football out there. Having Adam Sard back, I was extremely happy to see him back playing. Woof. But anyways, Zach Williams in the forward. I don't mind it. I actually love it. He played amazing. 4 goals, pretty much in the same spot, was just very exciting. Charlie Curnow coming back. I felt like these last few games he hasn't been playing the best as he could, but the first half he was a bit quiet, but then came up kicking 4 goals, which I was very, very happy and excited about. Walshy played amazing. Same as De Koning and Akers. I was just really impressed by their performance today. I'm really happy that we got a lot of marks in our inside 50 today. Felt like we haven't really been doing that, but it's good to see the boys doing that and playing some good footy. But anyways, overall, I thought we played absolutely amazing. Definitely good to have a win. But next week we are versing Port Adelaide, and hopefully we can come in strong and beat them and have a amazing win. But anyways, this is what I thought about the game. Go the Blues!
Yeah, Libby sent me that like within, I reckon, 10 minutes after the game finishing. That's the quickest she's ever sent.
They were buzzing. They were real nervous. Her and her sister were very anxious before the game, but after they were screaming through the phone, so they're happy.
Was she at the wedding? No,
not that side of the family.
Okay, we got another game, and we got a tough game. So Port Adelaide on Saturday night. Is that right? Adelaide Oval. Is it Saturday night?
No, Thursday.
Huh? Fuck.
We play Thursday, bloke.
It's Thursday night.
I had no idea. I thought it was Saturday. How's this? Luckily, we do this podcast, so I actually have to talk about the next game because my sense of time at the moment is absolutely nowhere. Thursday night.
This happens when you're partying in Lagos.
Which is actually Thursday morning for me, not Saturday
When you're
morning.
partying in Lagos, the nights turn into day.
Hey, Paysan, could you imagine if you actually booked a flight during the game?
We haven't partied.
Hopefully,
We haven't partied that much yet.
we'll never let him live it down, Jules.
It's been long days.
Oh.
Who got a flight during the game? Huh?
You
When?
know what you said, Jules? If you booked your flight during the game,
There's none of us. Pop and I aren't taking flights.
that's right.
I haven't taken a flight during the game.
Yeah, he's saying because you thought the game was Saturday. Imagine you booked your flight on Thursday.
Okay, imagine if I did. Well, I didn't. I'm back in London on Tuesday, so it's
Oh,
plenty of time.
all right. Let's be all literal. Okay, just laugh at the joke.
Anyway, Thursday night against Port Adelaide, 5-day turnaround. That sucks. I didn't realize.
Well, do you believe he didn't get that? I'm still
had no
trying to
idea.
process what the fuck happened.
He's got no idea. He was still trying to process whether he was going to be able to watch the game or not.
Or whether it
what
was
I-
actually Saturday or Thursday. Yeah.
No, I wasn't processing. I was anyway. Fuck you both. Next game, Port Adelaide, Thursday night, Adelaide Oval. How do you see it?
I'm quietly confident.
Off a
For this
5-day
game.
break.
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
they got a 5-day break too.
They also have a 5-day break. Fair.
Yes.
All right. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know about Port Adelaide, if I'm honest with you. I really don't. The fact that they're at
They've looked
home
very good
worries
when
me.
playing at home.
Yeah. The fact that they're at home worries me, but I'm not convinced. And I feel as though, we can get the better of them. I'm worried about the likes of Horn Francis. I'm worried about your Butters. I'm worried about your Rosie if he plays. But I don't know. I'm quietly confident, boys.
Yeah.
Especially with the likes of
I've got-
Fogg and Sard back and what we look like against Gold Coast. I really am confident.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident too. I mean, if we perform like we did yesterday, I reckon it goes a long way in terms of us winning the game. Um, but I think they might have a few players out. At least that's what I'm sort of reading.
Naz is saying here,
currently.
Rosie and Dixon not playing according to
Yeah,
Naz.
yeah, that's what I've heard as well. So obviously that may help. Who knows? I just think I, I think there's going to be one in the midfield, to be honest with you, and whether we're going to be able to use the ball wisely inside our forward 50. I think that's just the game. Yeah, and I think currently, um, it says they only won the clearances by 2 against North.
Mm. Yeah.
So I think if our midfield's humming, I reckon we'll be all right.
Willie Rioli, I think, is a definite confirmed out. He's done his calf, so that's a big one. He's been brilliant this year for Port. But yeah, they struggled against North's midfield, which is surprising to see. It was down in Hobart, I think. Yeah, so might have a bit of an impact on the game. North tend to play a little better down there, but they still somehow lost 10 goals. I don't know. If it was in Melbourne, I'd probably back us in to win this game every day of the week. But we have not beaten an Adelaide side at the Adelaide Oval ever. And I just feel like that's something that we haven't been able to crack at all. So
if we hadn't have beaten Gold Coast, I don't think I would have given us a chance. But I think the way we performed about them on the back of that and our profile, I think it puts us in a good position come Port in my eyes.
They scare me a bit with their ball use out of the middle. They're one of the best stoppage sides in the comp. And when they can run players like Butters, Rosie, and Horn Francis through there.
Not playing, bloke.
No, that's not confirmed. It's not confirmed. He played. I'm sure he played against North. He's not on the injury list.
Who?
He did.
Rosie.
He did play. He only touched it 11 times, though.
Yeah.
He played, yeah.
He's not on the injury list.
He played, but he barely touched it.
All right, but he's a freak of a player. It's not like he's gonna. Like he's just gonna, smash out 10 disposal games every week.
I think we win this one, and I don't think it'll be because of our midfield dominance. I think it'll be the way we move the ball outside the contest.
I still think I disagree there, Jules, because they are very, very good out of the middle, and we saw what Sydney did to us. I
don't think we need to dominate the middle. I just think we need to halve it. I think if you have a look at it, the first 4 games, this game here, in terms of when we did score and score heavily,
you said it's won and lost in the middle
or defensive half, and I just think that's the game.
I get it. However, last week against Sydney, they exposed us with leg speed out of the middle, and unfortunately for us, it's what led to almost a 10-goal thumping in the end. Was how they exposed us out of the middle and out of stoppage. We spoke about that last week. For me, I've watched Port Adelaide enough this year with the likes of Rosie, Butters, and Horn Francis. That is genuine leg speed there that I think if we're not firing out of the middle from the get-go like we did against the Suns, we will get exposed. We just will. And then it will impact every other aspect of our game from there, including the turnover and ability to run the ball out of the back half. I just think we need to get on top of them early, and that comes from the source for me. I don't think we can underestimate this Port Adelaide midfield. What they've done to certain teams this year, it's scary how quickly they can score out of stoppage.
Yeah, I agree. I just think we win the clearance game and we get repeat entry inside 50. Port's backline, I feel, will struggle against the likes of Harry and Charlie.
Yeah, that I agree with.
Personally. That's why I see it's important. We saw it against Gold Coast. We keep getting repeat entries. We keep capitalizing on that. We're going to cause headaches for their backline. So that's where I think it's important.
Yeah, I just think our midfield rocks up. I don't think we need to dominate the midfield. I just reckon it needs to be fairly even, if it's even, or we win the contest more than them, I think it's the outside game where it's going to be the difference, because I reckon our
of course,
midfield match up very, very well.
I agree with that.
We're going in circles.
No, I agree with to finish it off. I agree with that. I think our outside game needs to be firing as it did against the Suns, but I don't think it can fire unless we rock up. And if they do, then no problem. But again, I'm not underestimating our midfield at all. I'm just saying we've seen them fall asleep at times against seriously good opposition this year. We need to be careful in this game. This is not a walkover. It's not a walk in the park. This is a tough contest against a side that is currently third by my calculations, I believe. Are they third? They're third at home on a deck that they tend to dominate teams. So we can't just be walking into this one thinking we're going to be all right. I don't think it's that simple. Ins and outs for me, I don't want to see a change in this side. I actually want to see us going with the same side, and I want to see us going with the same structure to see how it stacks up against a much better side than what the Gold Coast are on the road.
Where's Motts at, boys? Where's Motts at?
He kicked one goal in the VFL, but it was from the square, I think from a 50-metre penalty. And he didn't have too much impact outside of that from what I understand.
I heard he had managed minutes. That's what I heard.
There you go.
Give him a bit more.
Yeah, I think he needs a bit more. And then I don't know. Jules, do you see anyone else going in?
There's no one else in the VFL, that really performed, at least from the stats that I saw. I haven't seen any footage, but just going off the stats that I saw, but like the Mots, if you had a couple of injuries, you can't be coming straight back into the side. You need to have managed minutes and obviously increase them gradually to a level where he's going to be able to run out a game at AFL level.
If Jack Martin isn't a testament to that and how that happened, I don't know what is.
Yeah, I'm almost saying Chera needs to go into the VFL.
Jules, the 100 bloke, I'm telling you right now,
I'm sorry, he's done it twice now.
We as a football club have not learned on how to blood these type of players back in with load management. Yeah. I'm not going to go on a rant about it because I've already spoken about it that many times. But if you do not be cautious with these players, what's that?
He did his hammy last year, and he's done it twice. Yeah, that's 3 times in 12 months.
Yeah, I'm with you, Dan. And if you want to go on a little rant, you can. You didn't get to do it last week.
No, I said what I had to say. If we're not cautious about how we want to load manage and return these type of players, the ones that we know are injury prone, and be a little bit more cautious about getting them back rather than listening to the hype or getting sucked in by the necessity of bringing them back. E.g. Jack Martin, we bring him in one game, plays a full game, then does his calf. So I think I hope that this is heard and that lessons are learnt moving forward with how we manage players.
Predictions for the port game.
By 28.
Carlton by 15.
I'll say Carlton by less than a goal if we're going to win. All right. Have you got one?
Yeah, I do. This is a good one.
Keep calm. Count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10.
Not happy, Jen!
And on that, just quickly on my little rant, if you cannot see the importance of keeping players fit and available to achieve your goal of top 4, wake up. All right. Now this is my thing.
Gav wants you to just say it. Gav wants you to just say it. Stop beating around the bush.
I'll leave it now. All right. So, boys, I need to get this up because it happened 2 weeks ago, but obviously I couldn't come onto the pod. So the groom who got married on the weekend, our cousin, come to our house because he had to fill me in about the MC duties and timings and all that sort of stuff. All right. Comes to ours, goes to the toilet. What have you done, Joe? I can hear myself.
Yeah, it's not me because I can hear it too.
Anyway, goes to the toilet. All of a sudden, you hear, "Oh shit!" like this. He dropped his AirPods in the toilet. Don't know how. Apparently had him in his pocket loose like that. First time ever they've fallen in the toilet. All right. Bloke's pissed on him. Takes him out of the toilet. Decides to put him. So he gets him out of the toilet. Jules, listen to this. I'm watching him. He's like, oh, do you reckon maybe I should put him in rice? Do you reckon I should? I want him to work in. I love my AirPods. Puts the AirPods of piss on my kitchen bench. We all stared at him and we go, what are you doing? Then he uses the paper that he got from the toilet to wipe the piss on the bench.
What was your reaction?
That is his family.
What was
So
your
I kept
reaction?
calm.
What was your reaction?
I stared at the table and I went, that's piss. Yep. You know what he does? Puts them in rice. Still hasn't cleaned them yet properly. Puts them in rice. Yeah. Takes them out. Yeah, Gavin, he called them piss pods. How's this? Takes them out to test them. Hasn't cleaned them. Puts them in his ears.
Oh, no way. No way. You're joking.
Not even joking. And I hope he's listening to this episode. And I hope he's listening to this episode.
Oh, that is disgusting.
Put the piss pods in his ears. Sent a photo 2 days later of him working. Reckons one was a little bit roughly.
That is disgusting.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
I needed a good not happy Dan. Hey, you should have seen Lauren when he put him on the bench.
No.
Oh, it's funny.
No, that's fucked. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
That is gross.
You didn't reuse the rice?
No, we did.
Yeah.
We used it for stir fry. Had a twang to it, Jules.
Yeah, eating piss rice. And he's listening to piss pods. Ah, shit. All right. Well, that's it for this week, boys. I'm gonna go explore Lisbon. I've got better things to do than talking to you two for any longer than
Talk
I have
about
to.
piss pods.
No, it's been a good one. It's good to see you both. We'll be back on the StreamYard next Sunday, same time, to review the Port game that's on the Thursday, not the Saturday. So until then, up the baggers, boys.
Up the baggers.
On the baggers.